so heavy and so large be moved.
What's intriguing about the Giglio feast is that they've taken this tall tower and they've created like this kind of community icon that they all gather around. It has this power and intensity, and they invest so much into it that it becomes very magical, the whole event. Most of my paintings have been about the rituals of contemporary life. So I started to do paintings on weddings and Halloween and Christmas. And eventually, at some point, I found these church festivals here in New York that are extraordinary events. It's in these rituals that you really begin to see people, and you really begin to see what the life is all about. And you begin to find the images, the icons that express it. These people are almost like the last type of old community people in America.
Then when you got that centerpiece in there, that 1x3, you're going to block both sides of
They're hanging on to these old community gatherings that bring them together at least once a year, and it's all bound up with their religion, it's all bound up with their feelings about life and death.
When you lift it up and it don't, you know, the bigger they get.
It becomes this whole kind of tribal structure that keeps them all together.
You know, I'm taking out the flesh tone like we did last year. We did the flesh tones on these things, and I'm putting it back to the pink. The pink looks more natural in the sunlight than flesh tone does. It looks very faded. You know?
I've been down here now, it's my 11th or 12th year, and Jimmy Dell and Joey and Sam Caggiano, and all these fellas, they're older. They were here before, and they taught us. Like Joey always teases me, you know, you just learned how to make molds and then you fell in, you know. But that's true. You come down, you start, and it's a lot of work. We have men that come down for 1 year. This is something you have to want to do for yourself or for the church. It's like anything else, you know. If it's a job you like, it's not a job. Then it's fun. But every man down there that works now truly works and truly likes what they do. Or you wouldn't have that kind of results. Everything they do from their heart. Well, if it's right or wrong.
Oh, good, good.
We have guys that come down sometimes to do things wrong, but we won't say nothing. When they go away, we'll correct it. And it goes on. And no one ever knew what happened. No one's here to insult anybody. It's just guys volunteering their time for the church. And however it comes out, it comes out. But we manage to make it come out nice all the time. I think it comes out nice. We've never put an ugly structure in the street yet, and that's 100 years. Try putting that on your resume, Giglio maker. That's a dying trade.
All the figures that we have on the Giglio are made in the old style paper mache. We use brown paper and newspaper that we put into the plaster mold. Practically every one of them has to be over 30 or 40 years old. They were made by Mr. Martello, who was the constructor years ago of the Giglio. It's fascinating how he used to find these things. He used to go to construction sites or places where they were tearing down old buildings. And he would find something and say, oh, I like that cornice, let's say. And he would grab that cornice and take it home, and he'd make a mold out of it. And that's where they come from. It's very interesting, an old story that Mr. Martello used to do these things. We used to laugh when he'd tell us those things. He used to find them laying around in some dirt that somebody was going to throw them out, and they turned out to be a saint or an angel on a Giglio.
When I was young, we used to imitate our fathers. We would take the wooden milk crates, we'd stand them on end, nail them together. My mother used to have all the holy pictures, and I would take a few of the holy pictures. We'd make sure that there was one of Our Lady of Mount Carmel and one of San Polino, and we'd get a couple others, and we'd tack them on the front so that we had the saints on it. We made our own little Giglio, and either we'd sing the Giglio song ourselves or we'd do kazoos. As a young kid, I'd come down and see the men that were painting it back then, and I'd watch them. And I'd learn. I'd watch, see what they were doing. And of course, it became, yeah, would you like to try? You know, oh, gee, can I? And of course, that's how I started painting. I grew into it and I took it over. And that's really where my artistry came from. I never painted before I did that. I've learned to paint on a Giglio, not on a canvas. The Giglio's been my canvas all my life.
The parish really enjoys the feast. The feast is a very, very important part of the parish life. If you ask people, what do they look forward to every year? Everybody will tell you, the feast. The feast is a very important part of the fabric of life in this neighborhood. And the people here are very devoted to it. And I've seen a tremendous devotion here, but also the devotion of people coming back from other areas where they've moved, and they come back to celebrate the feast and to be present in the parish for this feast. So the parish has a tremendous social life because of the feast. This feast has endured these years because of its uniqueness. You can go to different feasts all around the city of New York, but what has kept this feast going on for 108 years is because of the tradition it brings back. You see people more and more looking for their roots and looking for their heritage. The heritage of this feast is amazing.
The woman that makes us put the Giglio in front of a house, we put that in front of a house for like 15 days. She should go to heaven just for that. This big structure right in front of your house. The people in the area they're beautiful. Everybody cooperates with this feast, like they're all part of it. You have to, because if you're really not part of this, then it's just like a big nuisance.
I don't know the historical roots of the feast, but I would say that this feast was a pagan feast that the Christians baptized and used to bring people to the church and bring people to God.
This is my second year with the children. We're preparing them really for, lifting the big Giglio when they get older.
We're honoring a saint, a man who gave his own life up for a young child who was being taken into slavery by some invading Turks. He had absolutely no idea what was going to happen to him. But it was important to him that he helped this woman and got this child back to his mother and gave himself up into slavery. He did some miracles while he was in slavery, which brought him to the eye of the Sultan, who eventually brought him and the young people that had been taken previously and brought them back home to their hometown, where they were greeted with lilies, which is what the word Giglio means. And then the tradition goes on from there.
This is respect, love, and tradition. It's all it's all about.
Since I was a kid, I've been involved here, coming to the feast, and I just had to be part of it. It's a way of carrying on some tradition, family tradition, community tradition. It's a way of honoring my parents and their heritage.
As I get more involved in this feast, it also means a way of holding on to the Italian neighborhood, keeping it alive. And most importantly, it's friendship. Some of my best friends are people involved with the feast. In fact, not only are we together during the feast, but we try to get together many times during the year and socialize. And these are people I can depend upon. The feast, finally, of course, is a devotion to the Madonna and San Paolino. For me, at different times, it just encapsulates everything from religion to community to friendship to heritage.
The feast does generate, as you can see, from the expansiveness of the feast, a tremendous revenue. And basically, it does keep the parish alive. And I would say we're a very strong and very vital parish in this neighborhood because of the feast.
Believe it or not, the music in America is more traditional and more authentic than the music in Italy. Here, the aspects of beauty of the Giglio are mentioned all in the song. It's more of a traditional Southern Italian beat to it, tarantella. It goes from 2/4 to 6/8 time, which is march, the tarantella tempo. And it's just perfect to dance the Giglio by.
Basically, the initial music is the same. Once the structure is lifted, then it might take a different turn. Different capos like different pieces of music. Patty's uncle, Chichi, loved Rocky. And that was a big tune for him. And he got the band to play Rocky whenever he makes the lift. There's another one who likes New York, New York. I mean, it's not a very Italian tune, but it's nice to dance to. And as long as the music kind of gets the guys moving, it works. The traditional part that we do keep in Italian is when we're ready to put the structure down. And at that point, the capo yells out 4 terms. It says, Wayu, Isante ne spal, gonji gonj, agiet. And basically what it means is, hey fellas, stand up straight, lift up your shoulders. Are you ready? Throw it down.
There was only 125 men originally that lifted that structure. Your father was there, maybe you sneak him in and you get you in 1 year. I think that was part of the reason they probably put the boat in effect. There became so many lifters that we didn't have enough poles.
Once you have that thing up off the ground and you know which direction you're going, if you're out of step, you're not going to stop it. You're going to go with the flow. It is up to the lieutenants and the capo at the front to slow it down. One of the ways you slow it down is you don't take galloping steps. They always talk short steps, half steps. Once you can control the movement, the fellas will have to move in synchronization. Basically, to start us off with each lift, at the blare of the horns and the music of the Giglio song, the Giglio e Paradiso, you just know to lift, and that's all you do, is you just lift and straighten your legs from the crouched position. The Giglio is now up. The music stops from that song, they go into another song, and then you do the commands that have been given to you.
I'm very optimistic about the Feast in Brooklyn's future because I see so many young people participating. And they have the lifting of the children's Giglio every year and the boat also. It does have a great future. It's a contribution of the immigrant community to their descendants here in the United States.
When I look at the Lady Mount Carmel San Paolino Cooperative Feast, it is a countercultural event. Many of the people who are not Italian-American can't understand why people will go out and get involved and spend all this time, why the lifters will be out there in the hot day, the humid day, and putting up with all the smells and noises. To many of the fellas, and I'm talking from lifters right up to the top, the importance of this feast is that they stand out, they're different. They haven't become homogenized. They are not part of a mass culture approach where everything has to conform. They like being a little rough around the edges. They like being somewhat different. And they like holding on to some of the old way of life that they see too quickly disappearing. It's their way of life, which they think is as important as any middle-class way of life.
Change is good. Change isn't good all the time. I don't think we need any changes. Everything we do here is fine with us. This is something that should please the people in this area, this church, these people. It doesn't have to please people who live in Manhattan or Jersey or Queens. We'd like to have them in here. We'd like to see them come and participate. But this is sort of a thing that's for us here in our area. This is our feast. This belongs to us.
This project is supported in part by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts.